Hello everyone, welcome to the Northeast Wrestling Podcast, and today's guest is the Firebird. I don't know why I agreed to do this,
because Twitter wanted it, damn it. Twitter requested it.
Yeah, got you on eventually, but how did you actually come up with the name of the Firebird?
So the Firebird was spawned from the fact that I wanted something revolving around the Phoenix originally. I was advised that was a bad idea due to a wrestler named Jay Phoenix. So I'm going to stories. I'm sure if you've been in the wrestling scene, you'll know stories of Jay Phoenix. So I was advised that wasn't a good way to go. But I never wanted to have like a standard name as a wrestling name. I always found like The Undertaker was cool, Umaga. People with like single syllable names that weren't like your standard Dan Mason, Kelvin Mason, standard names like that never really appealed to me. So I wanted to around the Phoenix. Never suggested it wasn't a good idea. So that's when the Firebird came into it. The Firebird's a Russian myth of the Firebird. It's this bird that brings both pleasure and pain, and I always found the ideology of it very, very fascinating. So that's when I settled on that name there.
All right. So you've been wrestling how long now?
I've been training just over 3 years now.
And have you been the Firebird since you debuted? Have you been the Firebird since you debuted?
I've been the Firebird since I debuted, never wrestled under any other name.
So, right now, at this point in your wrestling career, who is the Firebird?
The Firebird? At this point in time, the Firebird's become more of the pleasure side. For a long time I was the bad guy, and especially during my RADPRO times. But as I've come into my own as more of a good guy nowadays, I'm trying to find myself as someone that can connect with the kids and someone that can bring about a lot of enjoyment. I'm trying to go out there now and be someone that people can look up to, and that's where I'm at kind of as a Firebird nowadays.
Great. Who and what would you say are some of your biggest influences?
Biggest influences nowadays, I mean, I'm looking at the British scene and the Japanese scene. As with everyone, I got into wrestling because of the American scene, but as I've developed more as a wrestling fan, and I've started to find myself as a wrestling fan and as a wrestler myself, I find myself more appealed by the Japanese side. So Kazuchika Okada, undoubtedly the best wrestler in the world, and I get a lot of influences from him and how he presents himself as a star and how he presents himself as someone to look up to. And then you got along the British scene, BT Gunn is phenomenal worker. Zach Gibson, unique character, someone that you can't help but hate Zach Gibson. So when I'm doing a lot of my bad guy stuff, Zach Gibson's someone to look up to. They're kind of the guys that I've really watched a lot of and studied a lot of. Those guys that are really crisp and really know who they are as a wrestler.
Yeah. You wrestled BT Gunn quite early as well, didn't you?
I did. My first ever singles match was against BT Gunn. It was an eye-opening experience on how hard it is to wrestle. So that's just such a high caliber. He got such a good match out of me whilst I was nothing, and I wasn't crisp at all at the time. I was still very green. I'm still learning now. I'm not no master by any means, but back then I was very unsure about myself in the ring, and he pulled a good match out of me, and it was a learning experience. So yeah, it was the first singles match. I was very nervous. Obviously, BT Gunn has a reputation of being the hardest chopper in the business, but I got through it. I learned from it, and it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah. I was going to mention that you're a big Japanese fan before you said that.
It often comes to conversation very quickly. Yeah. I'm a big Japanese fan. It's one of the things I never shut up about.
Yeah. How long have you been into New Japan?
So my love for New Japan came about around the start of 2016. Wrestle Kingdom. I think it was Wrestle Kingdom 9. There was Tanahashi versus Okada in the main event, and Nakamura versus Ibushi in the undercard main event. It was those two matches told such a unique story. Tanahashi Okada was up until that point, the match I'd always said was the best match of all time was Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25, the greatest match of all time. But then I saw this Tanahashi Okada match, and they told a similar kind of story. It was high intensity, high drama, and it was 40 minutes of perfection where they worked the limb and they come back, and the dynamic finishes and the way the crowd builds throughout. It was such fantastic pacing. I saw matches like that, and then also Nakamura Ibushi, just the absolute center of strong style wrestling. They show the beauty in strong style wrestling, and so those two different matches really showed that New Japan can be really versatile, plus a lot of great styles matches. And from that point, I was all in on New Japan at that point. It was fantastic stuff.
Yeah. So where have you trained since you started?
So I started with RADPRO under Georgie Leggett, worked as Vulture for a long time along with the guys he used to help people train, which was Jay Oliver and Mr. Society, and I trained with those guys, but mainly under Georgie for a long time. And then as Georgie stepped away from RADPRO and as he began to drift away from RADPRO, that's when I looked for new inspiration for learnings. I felt like it was time to change up my learning style, and I tried a few different one-time sessions at a few different schools, but that's when I ended up at Rampage, where I currently train. I've not been there very long. I've done a few sessions, but that's where I'm based now. That's what I want to learn now. Do as many seminars as I can as well. Anytime Absolute put on a seminar, I'm there. They're fantastic. Nathan Cruz, Mikey Whiplash, Wolfgang, Zach Gibson, all those seminars, all fantastic. So always get to their stuff and as many seminars as I can around. But now I'm trying to learn from Rampage and NGW in general.
Yeah, NGW was a good place. The best place in the Northeast to learn. It's usually Rampage Brown's the head trainer, and
then Jamie Ahmed, also known as works as Screwface. Just his grasp on the basics, his grasp on fundamentals, his grasp on emotion and facial expressions and how to work a match that looks like a fight is phenomenal. So a lot of time at the moment Jamie's taking the advanced classes, and I just learn a lot from him, just watching how he moves, how he works, and listening to him is just sound advice constantly comes out of his mouth. You can't get by as a wrestler without listening to Jamie. He's phenomenal for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and they're the two trainers, but the people that train there as well help you out a lot. Like Jason Prime and H.C. Drake. They're I've learned a lot just from them as well, just through training with them and just listening to them.
Definitely, both those guys are phenomenal workers and great guys to listen to as well. I'll always have time for Howard. Howard's helped me a lot. I've been on a couple of road trips with him, going to shows, helping him set up the ring, doing a few bits in there, and the entire time I'm sat in the car, I'm just listening to Howard because he'll rip you to shreds. No doubt about that. But he'll impart some good knowledge on you.
Yeah. Same me and Connor, me and Victor Van Volt. So I went up to where I go to Reckless Intent. And Rampage Brown was on the show, so we took him up, and it was 3 or 4 hours of just listening to him talk about wrestling, and it was just really a good experience getting to listen to him, just hearing how his mind works and everything. Was just a great experience. Who have you learned from the most? Would that be Rampage Brown or
both? Yeah, like I said, Rampage and Jamie and Howard, all of those guys have imparted great knowledge on me. Even if you look at a short amount of time as well, the 2-3 hours I spent doing seminar with Zach Gibson and then sitting backstage with him, phenomenal experience just learning from him. But yeah, definitely Rampage, Jamie and Howard have got the guys I've definitely picked up the most from. I mean, all my basics and the general gist from Georgia I got it was a good place to start, and I wouldn't redo it. When I started with Georgie, it was good. He gave me a good leg up. He got me a few bookings around. He gave me a good leg up to wrestling. But now I'm ready to. Now I want to start stepping up into the next level. The amount I'm learning from Howard, Jamie, and Rampage is just fantastic.
Yeah, so would you say Zach Gibson's probably the best seminar you've done, or the one you've
definitely
learned from the most?
Definitely. Zach Gibson, I mean, that's you look at Zach Gibson, he's 25, 26, he's going to be in WWE one day, he's working everywhere in the UK. Anyone that wants to put on a good match and wants to have a good spot on the card, they're going to put Zach Gibson in there because he's such a phenomenal worker. He can get heat from any crowd, or even if you want him babyface, he can work it, but he's such a phenomenal bad guy. He's just perfect at getting that crowd where he needs them to be at all times. He can have them booing and like drowning him out on the microphone. He had a great promo at Progress where he tried to talk on the microphone. The crowd booed him so loud that you couldn't hear him over his microphone at all. And if he wants them quiet, he can have them quiet. It's wherever that he needs that crowd to be at any time, he can get them there. And so that seminar was at Gibson was fantastic.
Yeah. For seminars, Mighty Whiplash.
Phenomenal. Just his understanding of the basics of wrestling and understanding of the British style. If you want to learn technical wrestling, if you want to learn catch style, it's Mikey Whiplash all the way. He's had stints of all-star wrestling for a reason. He's just, and he got the reputation as a hardcore guy, and he does love his hardcore. But if you want to learn the basics of how to work a wrist lock, how to put a whole fancy reversals, you want the psychology of tearing someone's limb off. Mikey Whiplash is excellent at that, just wonderful at it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And going back to what you said about having the crowd on the palm of your hand as a bad guy, Bubblegum as well.
I haven't had a chance to have a seminar on Bubblegum yet, but like one day I'd love to. I know he's got his own school down around Manchester way. I'd love to travel down there if I can. I know he does some stuff with Preston City Wrestling as well, so if we can get down that way for some of their stuff, that'd be nice. But I know Preston City Wrestling you have to pay in and do. I think it's like you have to pass a beginner's course to get onto their school. But I've done a couple of seminars there with like former WWE guys. But if there's any chance I can ever get in the ring and train with Bubblegum, I will do, because just watching like I've sat backstage and chatted with him a couple of times at the Absolute shows, and I've chatted with him before shows as well. But if I could get a chance to do a seminar with Bubblegum, I'd snatch up in a heartbeat, and I recommend anyone else should as well.
I completely agree. You see that you train with some WWE guys. Who were they?
So I had the first one I did was with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. That was very much being taught to for a few hours, and just him imparting knowledge. Joseph Connors was at that seminar, in fact, and Joseph Connors was the guy that he used to demonstrate a lot of the stuff he did. I managed to get in there and do a few bits for him, and he was trying to impress Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Not an easy task. But just listening to the way he believes wrestling should be done, and listen to the way he believes it should be done, and the way he believes wrestling has evolved, and how his psychology on a wrestling match was phenomenal. And then I also did one with Billy Gunn. That was a great one for learning how, because he was at that point in time, I think he just left the performance center as a trainer. So it was, we got some performance center drills. We got the performance center. How do we want their psychology nowadays? How do we want their wrestling done nowadays? Got to learn a lot about stuff like that, like how striking their psychology on how to open a match, when to bring the crowd up, when to bring it back down. That was a phenomenal one. And then I also did one with Scott Hall. Got a chance to do work a match in front of Scott Hall, and then work a promo in front of Scott Hall. And that was, with the Scott Hall one, was really good. So I fancy myself, like, I want to be a good promo guy. Promos are a big thing in wrestling for me. Storylines and promos, they're the key element in wrestling, I believe, and I love doing a good promo. And so Scott Hall said, right, you got a minute and 30 seconds on the clock, do this promo, you're on against SummerSlam against this opponent, go. And so I believe I was promoing for SummerSlam against Roman Reigns, and I got it bang on 1 minute 30 seconds. And you can stop the clock around 1 minute 30 seconds. It's like, that was it, I nailed it. And Scott Hall really enjoyed it. There was only one bit where it was like, you started to lose it for 10 seconds there towards the end, but then you brought it back and nailed the end. I was like, that was it. And that was a really good chance for myself. And then I worked a match with Big Chris for Scott Hall. So it was good little dynamic of big guy, little guy. I think he quite enjoyed that. Sold, made sure to sell, and show him that I can work with any kind of opponent. And so that was fun. I really enjoyed that seminar as well.
Yeah. You speak about like promos and stuff like that. I've always found you quite good on the mic.
Thank you very much.
Even when you are like RADPRO, and I think the one I remember most was when we've done the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was that Embryonics 3.9, I think.
I think that was the one. Yeah, I think it was just. I'd just gone on that was towards when I was doing the protest angle for a while, wanting a title shot because
Yeah.
Habrock had stripped me. Yeah, I think that was 3.9. Yeah.
And in between the first few entrants, you are
Yeah.
talking on the mic, very similar to the CM Punk and
That was where the inspiration I got for that one was. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. So could you name an experience or like a moment that you thought was really cool?
In what sense?
Where you've done it and then you thought back on it and thought.
Promo wise.
No, just like any experience like working with someone or like training with someone. And then
Well, the BT Gun match sticks out for me.
Yeah.
I know, I think that'll always stick out with me as a fantastic experience. That was phenomenal. I went up to W3L when they did one of their tours around the Northeast, and they worked with Ewan. That was a really enjoyable match. That was the first ever time I worked as a good guy. First ever time. Obviously, Ewan will always get a crowd to hate him. Ewan's fantastic at that. So that was a standout experience of like, maybe I can. Because I'd always been a bad guy, and I was like, maybe I can be a good guy. Let's see how it goes. So that was fun. It was the Absolute match with Chuck Cyrus where they did the big rap battle royal. It's like the first time I've been on a, because Absolute's got it's like one of those companies that's starting to step ahead of the rest of the competition in the Northeast, and Absolute's fantastic shows put on. So when I started to get on, like I got on one of those shows, and hopefully I can get on there again. Like that's when I started to believe maybe the fact that Absolute noticed me and Absolute wanted to put me on made me think maybe I can give this a go, like really step up the training and like start getting in the gym. That's why when I really started to work on getting some muscle on me, start on my diet, stop drinking all the Dr. Pepper, even though I've got a famed love for Dr. Pepper. And so that stuck out as a really good moment for me. So yeah, there's three right there. BT Gun, first time as a baby face, even though I hate the term baby face, just good guy. First time as a good guy, and then first time on Absolute, there were three fantastic moments.
Yeah. It was when you were at RADPRO, but I'm not too sure how it came about. But didn't you wrestle Oliver Barrett on like a martial arts show?
I did, like yes, they did. They were having a box. I think it was a boxing show, and they wanted half-time entertainment between the two. So I think it was 18 fights in total, and they wanted to split it up in the middle and put something alternative on something. So. Yeah, they hired Mark Anthony's ring, and got in me and Oliver Barrett for the show, and it was a weird one because we had to make it fun, but we had to make it realistic as a martial arts show, as a boxing show. There was no room for. You could tell as soon as we came out for the wrestling, all the parents turned away like, oh, it's silly. Yeah. So all started chatting among themselves. The kids enjoyed it, but like. So we had to work that a little bit to start to bring the parents in. So like, we had to lay in our stuff, had to make it look as good as possible. That was the first time I had a real challenge of knowing we're going out there against a crowd that's not interested, it's turning away. Because the one fortunate thing the Northeast has is they have a lot of loyal fans. So you go to an MPW show, go to an FTW show, RADPRO show, Hybrid when they were about, etc. You've got a loyal set of fans that love wrestling. So you're going to, regardless of whether it's only 20 turn out on that night, and I know a lot of companies have had that unfortunate circumstance, but they've also had nights where 100 have turned out, and regardless of whether it's 20 or 100, or north of that sometimes, you're going to get a receptive crowd. So like I was fortunate at RADPRO, regardless of crowd size, always a crowd that invested. MPW the same, FTW the same. But that boxing show was the first time I'd gone out there and the crowd were like not receptive from the start, and we had to really work hard to come out. So like I think Oliver Barrett did a promo and ran down the guys. So I came out and I was like, this is a martial arts show. We're not here to pansy about and talk, we're here to fight. And so I punched him in the face, and that was it. And like that was the first right bang, smack him in the face. And a couple of the parents like, ooh, here we go. And then like from there had to make it as realistic as possible and try and pull out a good one. And it was, I could probably both of us could probably put on a better match now. I think it's 2 years down the line since we've done that, but I think we did a good enough job on the day to where it was a passable match and I think we pulled in the crowd well enough to really be proud of that day. I think we could do a better job now, but I did really enjoy that day. Yeah.
Awesome. There's done a few shows from Northumbria University. Is it you who's buying that solely, or is it?
So the Northumbria Wrestling Society was something I set up. I set it up towards the end of my first year of university. There was about 10 of us, 15 of us that would watch wrestling shows, would watch pay-per-views, and we'd like throughout the day, before I was even started training, and like we'd watch Royal Rumble and stuff like that, and we'd go to university the next day with some beanbags and we'd throw each other about and we'd have a laugh, you know. A bit juvenile. We're 18, 19, but you know, everyone was wrestling. And at that point, I was throwing about and we were having fun. We like, maybe, you know, we're adults now, maybe we can give this a go. Is there a school nearby? So that's when I jumped on Google and I found RADPRO, and so I was like, well, why not make it a university event where we can then, university society, so we can then coordinate together, train together, come up together. So the first group was me, David, who worked with Metalhead for a while, Alexander Talon, who worked on RADPRO for a while, and then there's a few others, Mitchell Gibson and Chris Byrne, who never actually made it onto the full RADPRO shows. We were the first 5 to give it a go. And then and there was a few different people that jumped in and out. I couldn't name them all, so if I miss anyone, I apologise. But we were the first 5 to jump in, and that's why. So I made the society, and along with that, there was others that didn't want to wrestle, but they wanted to watch the show. So I was like, well, I created this society for everyone. So it's we watched the shows, we trained at RADPRO, and we all went round to local shows as well. And then at that point, we realised, because it was a non-for-profit organisation, so any money we made, it just went into a pot, into a bank account at the university that the university run. And towards the end of the year, they had a grant proposal they could do as well. So you put forward a pitch, and you could get some grant money and put on an event or some sort of thing. And at that point, it was like, well, we've got a bit of money in the bank. We've got a grant proposal coming up. So why don't we do the grant proposal, get forward a ring, enough money to hire a ring, use the money we've got in the bank to pay some wrestlers and put on a show. So at that point, I didn't want to run it because I've been wrestling for maybe a year at this point, and I don't believe that any wrestler that's been wrestling for a year or so should be running a show. And wrestlers running shows in general is a bad idea, I believe. So I helped out organisation, and I helped out with, you know, ideas. But I tried to stay away from this is a Firebird running a show, this is Kelvin running a show. I was like, because with the society there was 2 positions, there was a treasurer and a secretary, and along with that I had other people help me out. So I let them run the show and just chatted to the wrestlers and got them involved. And I also made sure that on the shows I was on, I wasn't, you know, winning all the time, because that would have been ridiculous. But so I was involved in the making the society, but I tried to steer away from running the shows as much as I could. But I wanted the society shows to be about the society member wrestlers getting a chance. So Callum Hall, who came in after the
Zio
first
Knox,
group, Zio Knox, exactly. He got to wrestle Martin Kirby on the last show in what I think was a standout performance. Phenomenal performance was my buddy Lewis Gibson, who wrestles now as the Rage, Lewis Ryan. We even tag now as the part of the Northumbria Wrestling Society we represent, and I wanted to really try and get that tag team out there. But he had a match of the night performance against the Primate, and really showed that he could be something in wrestling, and really star-making performances. That's a performance that I believe that got him onto the North Wrestling show that's coming up, that everyone should go and see, because North Wrestling are great, and also everyone should be supporting Lewis, because he could be something one day, and I'm really happy that he had that chance to go on with Primate. And it's without those shows, guys like Callum and Lewis wouldn't have had those opportunities. I got to wrestle Howard Drake once for his Calling Spots Championship, and that was a phenomenal experience. And Howard's a great guy to work with. And then there's another time where me and Metalhead got to tag team against Liam Slater and Howard Drake, and there's a Northumbria Wrestling Society against Team Absolute, and that was phenomenal. There's another time where Absolute brought us in to be a pre-show on their show, and that was me versus Lewis on that. And after that was another one where Lewis really stepped up and showed how good a wrestler could be, and we had a phenomenal match. And you know, that was when we both worked together in that match and realised we wanted to tag at that point, because that was so much fun. So yeah, I have been instrumental in setting up the society. It is my society. It was the society I set up. I no longer run it. I'm no longer at the university anymore. But it was my society. I still consider it to be my society. But the events that have spawned from it have been run by other people.
Alright. Yeah, because I thought it was like a very interesting just concept. And
Oh, it's one of my favourite things I've ever did. It's on my CV. I set up a wrestling society. The Wrestling Society shows. It's the first ever university to run a wrestling show. We first ever wrestling society to have a connection to a wrestling school. I set up a connection with RADPRO that now Tom, I believe. Crazy Tommy or Nathan Lavery, he now continues as he's the current president. He continues that connection with RADPRO now that Cabby runs it, and I hope that connection continues because RADPRO have been thoroughly instrumental in helping every single Northumbria Wrestling Society guy start as a wrestler. Without that school, none of us would be around. So RADPRO were I can never be grateful. Well, I can never not be grateful enough for Georgie for starting that connection and getting us all a start in wrestling. And now that Cabby's continuing, I can't be thankful enough for Cabby for continuing that, because that's going to be instrumental in keeping that society going. Now that I'm not there, and now that Nathan's running it instead, I believe if they stick with Cabby, that could be a good thing for them, because the RADPRO is a great place to start in wrestling, and I'm thoroughly glad I started there. So yeah, the society is something I'm really proud of, and it's unique. Not many people have done it, and I'm thoroughly glad I did do it.
Yeah, awesome. Who would you say are some of your closest friends in wrestling?
Closest friends in wrestling. I mean, you got. When I started with Metalhead, obviously he's one of my best friends outside of wrestling. He doesn't wrestle much anymore. I hope he does come back to it, because if he applied himself and really trained, then he could do all right. You've got. Same with Alexander Talon as well. He's currently training with Rampage. He's one of my close friends outside of wrestling in general. But if he can apply himself and make sure it sticks to Rampage, he could. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's got a natural advantage in wrestling. He's now with a personal trainer, so hopefully he can really revamp himself. Because I know since he stopped working with RADPRO, he's kind of dropped off the radar a bit and he's not been around. So I'm hoping Rampage can be the real revival of him, and I think if he sticks with Rampage, he will be. But other than that, I've got Lewis Gibson, my tag team partner. I mean, I want to make sure that tag team becomes a fixture of the Northeast if we can. We've done it in an MPW currently, but I'm hoping we can start taking it elsewhere. He's a great mate. We have a laugh. I've got great chemistry with him. We've got Joe Biggs. I've had about 15 matches with Joe Biggs. Joe's the pinnacle of the upstarters, the new guys in Northeast wrestling. He's got so much potential in wrestling. There's no limit for where Joe can go. He could go a long way. He's really applied himself. He's put on all that muscle. He's really training hard, so there's no limit on him. Connor, always have time for Connor. Yeah. We've had a great laugh inside and outside of wrestling. I've never had the good fortune of working with him. Hopefully one day I will. But he's another guy that I thoroughly enjoy. I always have a great time with. There's some of the guys that would consider really good friends in wrestling. Definitely. You've got guys that I always like. I don't see a lot of people outside of wrestling, but at show days, we've got Mr. Society. He's always a good laugh. Always have fun with him. It's a case of, I don't see a lot of people outside of wrestling, but Joe, Connor, and then Lewis, they're my guys, and I hope all three of those guys go far in wrestling. Really enjoy those guys.
I would definitely agree. I've said from a lot of people think I'm biased, but I think Victor Von Volz is one of the best workers around here. Very overlooked.
Connor has unreal potential. He has a great physique. He has a slight height advantage, 6'1", 6'2". He makes his stuff look good. He's one of you can see he's got the influence from Rampage now. And Jamie, he's got a great edge to him. He can really work a character. His Victor Von Volt stuff is fantastic. He's done other stuff as Max Mason and 3V. He's very versatile. If he can start cutting a good promo, and if he can just keeps in a Rampage's wing, he's going to be great. Like Connor and Joe are the two that I consider myself chasing. Like they're both great, and I enjoy my matches, of course, and I think if I really work hard, I can make something of this. But I know those two are that step. They're what I'm aiming for. That currently they're that step. They're stepping up. And they're making it on shows that I'm not on yet, and they're making shows I want to be on, and so I've got them in my vision, and I've got my eyes locked on them. I'm like, I'm gonna catch them, and I'm gonna overtake them. They're guys that might make me want to push myself much harder. Those two, sky's the limit for them. They're going to go a long way.
I 100% agree. Like you said, I feel like I'm chasing them too, because they're just on that level above, than a lot of guys up and comers around here.
That being said, there's also guys that don't get a lot of looking around the Northeast because they only train with Rampage, like the Rose Gallery. They're great. Yeah. They've started to slowly get around. Satchel, he's another Rampage guy. He's another guy that's phenomenal. Mihai's got all the potential in the world as well. Another guy that if he stays with Rampage and keeps applying himself and putting the hard work, there's no reason why he can't make it. I know he's been on Absolute a few times, and I've no doubt that if he keeps working hard, Absolute will bring him on again. And MEW is now the Northeast Wrestling Champion on MEW. Yep. Fantastic. There's no one more deserving than Mihai for that, really. I know Joe had a shot on MEW, and I hope Joe gets on again. I hope Connor can finally get on MEW, because it'll be a good place for him. I hope all four of us can get on Absolute, and same with the Rose Gallery and Satchel. If they can, I know they're wrestling for 3 Count Wrestling now, along with NGW Proving Ground shows. I hope they can start to break into FTW and RADPRO and MEW, because those guys could really do some good stuff. I really enjoy the Rose Gallery gimmick. I really enjoy Satchel's a hard worker. He's a cardio machine. So all those guys, along with Mihai, Connor and Joe, just great guys to look up to and watch out for in the Northeast.
Definitely. Looking at wrestling, do you consider it a sport or not?
It's violent theatre. That's what I always say. I always refer to it as violent theatre. It's athletes. Athletes going in there doing things that normal people can't do. Normal people wouldn't be able to do. No one can get in that ring and do what wrestlers do. Things like Assassin's Leap of Faith on the top rope. Your standard guy in the front row won't be able to do that. There's things in the way, the energy it takes to be that explosive, that dynamic in the ring. You have to take a hit, get up, lift them up on your shoulders, throw. You have the strength to then throw them off. Then you've got to have the cardio to run the ropes. You've got to get, have the strength left in you to have that explosive bit of energy left of the match. You've got to go. It's so hard to be a wrestler. It's athletes who are going in there. It's definitely sports. It's out there. It's entertainment, but it's violent theatre. Yeah. And just like the football stadiums, Old Trafford, the theatre of dreams. That football's a theatre, rugby's a theatre, and sports is exactly the same. It's very violent theatre, and it is a sport, and it is athletes, and it is real as real can get, without being UFC, obviously.
Yeah. I agree with that. Lucy Cole said something similar. She said that it was like physical theatre. Mm-hmm. It's as physical as a sport, but it's
if not more. You're gonna expend more energy in a 10-minute period doing wrestling than pretty much any other sport you could do for 10 minutes. You think of any sport you do for 10 minutes, snooker, cricket, golf. You're going to spend more energy doing wrestling. You look at football. Yeah, football's 90 minutes long, but if wrestling went for 90 minutes, you'd be more knackered after a wrestling match one-on-one than you would be after 90 minutes of football. Definitely. It's not discounting any of those sports, because I enjoy all the sports that I mentioned, apart from golf. I don't know how you enjoy golf, but I enjoy everything else that I named there. But wrestling, it requires a level of commitment and energy and explosiveness and stamina and charisma. It's such a unique amount of skills you need to have to be even remotely successful. Not just be a nobody, because there's plenty of guys that haven't made it, but they've got loads of those skills. So you gotta have all those skills, and then you've got to get lucky. Wrestling's such a unique aspect in that way. It's so hard to be a good wrestler, but if you are a good wrestler, it's so clear to see.
I completely agree. That was the last question I've got for the podcast. What are you on social media?
So you can find me on Twitter at the Firebird Rises.
Yep.
Same on Instagram, Firebird Rises on the Instagram as well. You can also find me on Facebook. Just if you search the Firebird, you'll find me on there.
And do people just book you through that, or?
If you want to email me, it's kelvin.stevenson@hotmail.co.uk. You can contact me there. You can message me on Facebook if you'd like. Happy to be contacted by either of those means.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. I hope everyone
enjoyed
else. I hope everyone else enjoyed it.
I hope so too.
And obviously, I hope you did as well.
We didn't talk enough about Japanese wrestling. I can never talk enough about Japanese wrestling. We could go on for another hour and a half about how good Okada is as a wrestler and how much I would like to face Okada. But you know, we've got to cut it off somewhere.
Yeah, I thought I'd get it out of the way at the start. But yeah, thank you for coming on. And
thank you for having me.
To everybody else, I'll see you all later. Right. Big thank you to the Firebird today for coming on the podcast. I feel like we got a really good conversation. Of course, at the start of the episode, I was only joking about having them on, not wanting them on. It was always my intention to have the Firebird on. He was one of the people I messaged very early. We just don't see a lot of each other, you know. It's just we don't see a lot of each other because we're with different companies and stuff like that. We're hardly ever on shows together, or we're hardly ever at the same shows, so it was like hard to find the time. But we had a show together on the Sunday, so on Sunday we recorded it. So we sat down and done it, and I feel like it was a really good interview. Well, I enjoyed it anyway. I hope everybody else did. He enjoyed it, which is good. We did record it at Maximum Pro Wrestling, the charity show. Big thank you to them for letting me record with the roster member on the day of the show, which I can't thank them enough for. Of course, Maximum Pro Wrestling have shows, and it varies. They have shows every month, and it varies throughout the month when they have it. But the charity shows are good shows, and the charity shows are on the last Sunday of every month, and also it's at and also I should mention that it's at the Modern Residents Association in North Shields. So yeah, get yourself along to them. Speaking of MPW and Maximum Pro Wrestling, as I should say, Maximum Pro Wrestling are running 2 seminars very, very soon, and it's 2 seminars that you just don't want to miss. The first one that is coming up next week it's on the 8th of July, which is the Saturday, is a seminar with the former TNA star Rockstar Spud, former Impact wrestler. Obviously he's been all over, and made it. Of course, he's made it in the in America and in TNA. He's one of the guys from Britain that we can all look up to and aspire to, because he's went from Britain and made it in America, which is of course what a lot of people want to do. He's not. He's gone from TNA now, and obviously he's stepping in the. He's taken a few sessions. He's taken a few training sessions. He must be available for seminars. So he's doing a seminar with Maximum Pro Wrestling, and the seminar is only £25. There is very limited spaces. So if you're interested, as soon as you finish listening to this, just message Maximum Pro Wrestling on Facebook, and they'll be able to save you a spot. There is a £10 deposit because of such high demand, and of course Spud will need a deposit for him to come down. But yeah, it's £25 in total, but there's a £10 deposit to pay. So yeah, just if you're interested in it, message Maximum Pro Wrestling. And a little bit later. It's not till the 13th of August, Sunday the 13th of August, but the Maximum Pro Wrestling are also running a seminar with Johnny Moss, who of course has wrestled for World of Sport, World Culture Pro Wrestling. He used to be a trainer in WWE. He's been so many places, wrestled so many guys. Like with these two seminars, I shouldn't really have to sell you too much on them because they're such big names and such known stars. But I'm just giving you a little bit of information. If you need any more convincing, search them up, see what they've done, because Johnny Moss and Rockstar Sport are both very good to people to learn from. But yeah, the Johnny Moss seminar, as I was saying, is on the 13th of August, which is a Sunday, and it's running from Armstrong Hall in South Shields. There's not many places remaining, literally just a few left, so if you want a space, message Maximum Pro Wrestling, like I said. It's £25 a person, but put your deposit down, it's tenner. Or of course you can also, like, that stands for both of these. If you do want to book your space for either, for like the Spud one or the Moss one, you can also call 07954 332 039, and that'll give you the opportunity. You'll have the opportunity to ring up and book your place there. So yeah, that's all I had to say. I was just plugging them two because I haven't been asked to plug those two, but I'm going to be at them, and I think it's a really good opportunity for anyone in the British indie scene, so especially in the Northeast, you know what I mean. So yeah, big thank you to everyone who's listening today. I've got an episode. Obviously, I'll have an episode coming very, very soon. I hope you have all enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you all later. Bye.